Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my House of the Dragon review. This is gonna be an interesting one to review. This is the first time I reviewed a show this long, which is a little insane to think about, because this is a 10-hour season. So it'll be very interesting to kind of like dive in here and give my thoughts on all of it. Um, but first I'm gonna start with the non-spoiler part and then go into spoilers afterwards. So right now is non-spoilers, of course. And I'm just gonna like go in through a couple of topics that I want to like touch on. And I'm gonna begin first with the cinematography and the settings in general. It is phenomenal. I think that the shots that what they have in this show a lot are these shots that like pan out to see like the entire scenery. You know what I mean? Like you just see everything. If you look at my background, I'm pretty sure this is from somewhere in the season, probably. Like you just see like these giant shots that really show you everything. There's even like a couple of scenes like that are indoors as well. That you just have a moment. There's no dialogue, no nothing. It's just the characters there vibing before anything happens. And I don't know, something about just having those like very establishing shots that just kind of like set up the scene, set up the scenario, the area around the characters. I think it's really cool and something you don't really see very often, especially because I'm coming from She-Hulk, like being like one of the last shows I saw, which was very, quick with everything that it does. Having a show that just takes its time for like that's hour long and just establishes its shots and just like really like takes its time with everything. Like there are moments where the show like slows down and sets things up, and it's really nice. It's really good in my opinion. I think that it slaps, to be honest. It's phenomenal. It's something I hadn't really seen before. Even with the original Game of Thrones, I didn't quite get that because, as you guys know, I watched Game of Thrones before this for the first time. I like sped run through all of the 8 seasons. Season 8 was something. Um, I never like felt like those shots existed in Game of Thrones. I'm sure they did, right? I'm sure if like I like look back, I think about it, but like not as prevalent as it felt in this show. In this show, it felt so much more noticeable. Like these giant setups for like these shots and these scenes. I thought it was really cool, and I just wanted to kind of like mention that. Um, how the characters are set up and how the scenes are directed and the cinematography basically I thought also was phenomenal. The shots were beautiful, they were fantastic. I felt like there was never a moment where it just didn't slap. Like the camera like panned in certain ways, it just made sense, it worked. I just thought it slapped, especially towards the later end of the season. There's like a couple of shots there specifically that really stood out to me, which I'll go into in the spoiler section, of course, because we're in the non-spoiler section. Um, let's dive into the plot next. Okay. This is a bit convoluted, right? I think the plot itself slaps. However, it has its flaws. I think there is a fundamental flaw with how the show is kind of run and how they handle a few things. So just letting you guys know, there is a time skip during the show, and the time skip feels very clunky. It doesn't feel like it was handled well. It skips ahead quite a bit, and I don't feel like they handled that time skip like well enough. I feel like there should have still been a bit more maybe, or like some separation, something. I get why they did it because the story in the first part before the time skip was finished. It was done. I feel like they just had to move on. They set up what they wanted to set up basically, which is the relationships in between the characters, which I'll talk about later. And they just moved on. But that like kind of shift was a little jarring, and I felt like it was like a little. It could have been done better. I'm not sure exactly how it could have been done better. To be fair, I'm not really sure. I think it's just because of how the show is set up. It was just a bit more difficult, but it still felt that way to me. Like I said, I'm not sure how like it would be changed or fixed. But that's just how I felt about it. Other than that though, like that was the only moment the show felt jarring to me. was during that scene where it's just like, this is a bit iffy. This is a bit off. Everything else flowed so well. The characters, the continuity, the plot, the motivations for the characters as well. It just all made sense to me. And I guess now that I'm talking about it, let me go on to the actual characters themselves. I think that the characters slap. The performances that the actors give is great. The writing that they have for these characters as well is also great. It just goes together really well. And I've been watching a lot of mediocrity with with the Marvel stuff. So like watching House of the Dragon was like, damn, this is good. And it reminded me a lot of I guess to compare it to Game of Thrones, like even earlier Game of Thrones and some like the better moments of the show as well. Like it was really good. It was some good shit, you know? Um the one thing I felt about the show though is that pre-time skip, I feel like some of the actors, especially Rhaenyra, felt a bit off, just a little bit. It wasn't like bad necessarily, not at all, but it felt a bit off. And even with, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. This is like kind of going into like a little bit of a nitpick, I guess, because the show really is just that good. Just to get that out of the way, I guess, and say it, it really is a phenomenal show. The performances, the scenes themselves, the visuals, the dragons in the show, as you can see, there's a fucker back there. They look really good, and the show does a really good job visually, and with just everything that it handles with all these characters, and all that. I think I'm repeating myself. It just slaps. My point is, it slaps. The writing is there, the performances are there to also back that up, and overall, it's just really good. I think that just something I want to point out. I feel like someone hopping in from, let's say you haven't seen Game of Thrones, right? Or you don't know any of the past material. I feel like hopping in to the first couple of episodes could be a little bit confusing, maybe. Maybe. Obviously I watched Game of Thrones, but I feel like they threw a lot of like places around and locations and bloodlines and all this and that. And I feel like if you haven't seen it, it might be a little like confusing for you. Or maybe if it's been a while and you've forgotten a few things. Nothing that you can't like keep up with. I think if you just like, fill in the blanks as you go, maybe you can figure it out. But it's just something I want to point out that maybe some people might be a bit lost. It's a possibility. Someone I was watching it with, I know they were a bit confused at moments because like the characters are like, they're just like mentioning families and stuff and all that stuff. So something to point out. Just something to point out. I don't think it's like a deal breaker or anything. You should still watch it if you want. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones, you could still watch it. It's fine. But just like, be aware of that, I guess. What else is there? What else is there? I wanna mention one performance that really stood out to me. Actually, no, I'll talk about that in spoilers. I'll talk about that in spoilers. Let me like wrap up this like non-spoiler part. As you could tell, I thought it was great. Just overall, everything was just good about the show. I find very few flaws. Just like the little like time skip thing, and a couple of things here and there. Because the show really is just good. It's good. So when the moments that kind of dip into like a little bit of bad happen, it stands out a lot. Also, wait, fair warning. The show is very gory. There is a lot of gore in the show. I would say an excessive amount of gore. Like to a degree that is not necessary at all. Like, I get it. This place is like the Harshland. It's awful. It's terrible. I get it. It is really fucking gory. So just keep that in mind going in. If you are not like someone who can handle those scenes, have like a guide, have something opened up, maybe to look away, or just all that stuff. Because there are scenes that are really bad, and I'll talk about it more in spoiler sections, in the spoiler section. But there's some pretty gory scenes that I like. Even for me, I thought I'm like pretty like, like, oh, gore, bad stuff happening. I don't care. It's fine. This show like tested me. I'm like, shit. God damn. I kind of had to look away. Like, holy crap, it's bad. Like it was some really bad stuff. But other than that, slaps. Phenomenal. Incredible. And the gore, I'm not gonna hold it against the show. Obviously, it's not like necessarily a bad thing. It's just something to point out about it, I feel. Just my thoughts about the gore in general. But yeah. Let me give you guys my my review. I think I've said this like 2 times. Let me give you guys my score on it. I'm gonna give it a, I don't want to say 10 out of 10. I don't want to say 10 out of 10. It is by far the best thing I've watched this year outside of Game of Thrones, but like new things that come out this year. I still think Game of Thrones at its peak was better. But I feel like there's just like these moments where it has its flaws, and it really could have just been a bit better, a bit less jarring. Maybe a couple of performances could have been better, but it's already at this really high standard. I still think it's a must watch. I'm gonna say it's a 9 out of 10, and that is a very high 9 out of 10. I'm not gonna give it that 10 out of 10 because I feel like it's just something that I don't think a 10 out of 10 is right for some reason. It just doesn't feel right to say it's like a 10 out of 10. So I'm gonna go with 9 out of 10. Some flaws, a little bit of things that kind of like don't feel right to me. But overall, very, very good. And I think that if you haven't seen it, it is worth the watch. It is 10 hours long, to be fair, but it's worth those 10 hours. It makes use of everything in that, like in that time that they have, and they do it phenomenally. To compare it to Marvel real quick, in the Marvel shows, I felt like time is wasted, or maybe they just like don't spend enough time on like a certain thing. In this show, I didn't feel that. Obviously the time skip felt jarring, but it never felt like it was like wasted or something. That it never felt that way, and I was really happy about that, especially coming from watching Marvel stuff. Okay, let me stop shitting on Marvel because I'm gonna be doing this for like a while. But yeah, those are gonna be my final thoughts. I'm gonna go into spoiler section real quick. But yeah, thank you for watching the non-spoiler part. Have a good one, guys. If you're gonna watch it, have fun. If not, understandable, to be honest. It is a long show, but if you ever get the time, it's definitely worth it, I feel. So yeah, let me hop into spoilers now. Okay. So just a little note here. I watched the show in 3 batches. I watched it episodes 1 through 6, episodes 6 through 9, and then episode 10. So if I like confuse a few episodes, I don't know exactly where something happened, my bad. Sorry. But nothing I could do about that, right? And if a few details I miss out or forget, sorry. It's a 10-hour show. I'm not gonna like hit on everything, to be honest. I don't see it being possible. I want to talk about the king though. King Viserys first. Bro, that man has my fucking heart. Bro, I think he was my favorite character in the show, to be honest. You just see in Game of Thrones, right? There's this like tendency of characters having this like awful ending. Like just awful, terrible. They don't get what they want. Life is just shit in general. And seeing this character go through so much struggle, trying to keep his family together, trying to keep the kingdom from falling apart, and like doing all this stuff, it was fucking heartbreaking. You just wanted him to be like happy, bro. And I feel like the actor who like gave the performance, she was just phenomenal. I felt it. I felt the scenes with that guy. It was just really good in my opinion. Especially towards the end with his final like speech before he it was just good. It was really good, and it was kind of heartwarming, to be honest. And like it warmed my heart to see that character that we saw struggle for like a solid 10 hours get a happy ending. Because obviously his family fell apart immediately afterwards, but he didn't have to see all that. He dipped. He got his happy ending, and I was really happy that happened. It was like a little bit of an unexpected thing for Game of Thrones, I feel. Because I expected him to have a bad ending, which would have been a bit sad, but like expected. So to have a character have like somewhat of a nice resolution was kind of nice to see, to be honest. It made me feel good. And I think the actor was phenomenal. Really cool shots of him as well in the last episodes. I'm going like way out of order. I'm just talking about King Viserys. I'm simping for a bit. Um, I just think that the way he looked in the final episodes as well was just insane. The people who work the art and makeup stuff, is that what they're called? The department that focuses on that stuff. I don't want to say the wrong thing, unless I already did. But they did a phenomenal job with him. And if they use like CGI or whatever they used, point is they did a great job. It looked so good. I was really impressed by it. It just slapped. And overall, I love that character. The performances were great. The interactions he had with other characters was also just great. I think he's my favorite character, to be honest. But yeah, he just slapped. It's very weird that I focused on him first and not the main characters. I don't know. I think he just stood out to me a bit more. He stood out to me as a character. Not to say that the other ones didn't, though. The other ones also fucking slapped. Like I said, this is a show of highs. This is a show of like highs. Characters are good. Performances are good. Scenes are good. Everything is good. But let me start at the beginning. Kind of like go through it. Now that I've simped for King Viserys. So we start off like with Alicent and Rhaenyra, and those two and their friendship and stuff. You see like their early life, how that kind of develops, and I thought that was really cool. I think seeing those two develop their relationship with each other over time, like you see it from episodes 1 through 6, and then all the way past the time skip, past the other time skip, and you see how they kind of like end up in opposite sides of the chess match, basically, in the Game of Thrones. But you see how they kind of end up there. And I thought that was really cool. And it was kind of believable. I felt like both characters were kind of reasonable. At times, I was like, these decisions are a little iffy. But it still makes sense from the character's point of view and what they want and what's at stake and what's happening. So I thought like their dynamic was really cool. It was kind of awesome to see like these friends to enemies arc. And I just thought it slapped. It was phenomenal. And then what's the other character? Daemon. Wait. Yeah, Daemon. Daemon fucking slapped. And especially in the first episodes, I thought, I mean, even later on, obviously. But in the first episodes, that one scene in episode 3, like the whole fight thing, we see so much of him, bro. We see him be a fucking badass, bro. And later on, when he tames a dragon too, we also see him be a badass. Like, he is just a badass. And he just does shit. Now, not everything he does is a badass move, because I think it was in episode 3, he does some stuff with his niece. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. Ignoring that part though, pretty cool. And I think the character. This is an interesting thing about this series as well, is that all these characters are kind of unlikable. Like they have some redeeming qualities that we had kind of hook onto, but generally I don't like any of these guys. They all seem to be assholes in a way, but they still slap. Like in the same way that I felt like oh my god, I've forgotten her name. From Game of Thrones, oh my god, how I've forgotten the name. The queen in Game of Thrones. Oh my god, how did I forget her name? Joffrey, I remember I remember her son, Joffrey's mother. Oh my god, I forgot her name. Anyway, whatever. I'll remember it eventually. Probably like after I stop recording, I'll be like, that was her name. It reminded me of her, where she was very unlikable as a character, but her performance was just phenomenal. And even though she's the villain, I still kind of wanted her to like win in a way sometimes, you know? It's like, damn. I'm kind of like rooting for her in a way at certain moments and stuff. And it was really cool to see. So I felt that way with Damon as well, where it's just like this character does some badass shit. And even though they're the villain, I kind of still want to see what happens with them, and I don't hate them necessarily. And that's really like interesting to see in a show, to have you like feel that way about characters. And I just think that was really cool. Um, and yeah, his arc of going from kind of jealous or iffy about the being the next heir thing, to then the niece thing, to then kind of like being an outcast thing. It was a little weird. I felt it was a little odd, but it was alright. It was alright. You know, yeah, it was alright. It's a very odd arc though. No, not that that's bad. Not that that's bad. Just very odd. But I enjoyed it. I think the character did the actor did a phenomenal job, and I'm excited to see like what they have in store next. Um, Let me talk about Viserys and Rhaenyra real quick. Their relationship and their arc. This is a weird way to go through it, but I feel like this is the best way to go through the show, cause my mind has all the episodes kind of like clumped together, so I only remember the arcs and stuff. So this is how I'm probably gonna go through it all. Just like certain things that characters do, maybe some moments. Um, with Viserys and Rhaenyra, I guess by Daemon by extension, I thought it was really like interesting to see this dynamic of like their family and who the next heir would be, and kind of like Rhaenyra and Viserys's like relationship with each other and how they feel about each other. You know, because obviously Viserys is like, "Oh, my daughter, I love you. Ah, you're my daughter. You know, I want everything for you." But then Rhaenyra has like this arc of like, "I don't want to be this," or and then afterwards it's like, "Okay, I know I have to do this and I have to do that," and like seeing like this like change, but also like seeing the kingdom around them, kind of like how they react to their dynamic. Because she's gonna be the next heir, and then you're like, "Oh my god, a woman as the queen? We can't do that." So you see like that kind of develop around them, how them having a new son affects the plot and all that shit. It's very interesting, and something that's just kind of cool to be honest. It was really cool. And I feel like having the 10 hours to tell the story they wanted paid off really well, because we did get so much setup, and we also got so many settings to go to as well throughout the show, which I just think it's just cool. It's just cool. We go to Dragonstone, we see like the main King's Landing, like we just see everything. You know what I mean? It's just it's just awesome. Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. Um, that's another thing about this show though. I felt like the shots and the setup shots setup shots. Oh my god, the setup shots gave me a really good like view of the land, of like where these conflicts are happening. I thought that was really cool that we got to see so much of that. I also thought that slapped, because we got to see like a lot of like Dragonstone. We get to see King's Landing. We get to see, other kingdoms and shit, and what it's like to be with their rulers, and how they react with the crown and stuff. And yeah, it just gives you the impression that the world is a lot larger as well, which I think is something that to bring up an example of this, I guess, like One Piece, for example. I know One Piece. You mentioned the anime. Hear me out. Hear me out. One Piece has like a lot of world building where it sets up like the world and you know that things are happening outside of your main characters. And this show I think does a good job of showing that. Of not showing it, but like you know it's happening. Like there are things happening in the background of the show and like people are doing things. People are having their own like opinions about the um the line of succession, what's gonna happen there, like these relationships, how people feel, like how they're talking back to their people and what they're saying, and you kind of like get this just because the characters are there in the background and then they go off to do their own thing. They never like mention them, they don't focus in on them, but it makes the world feel so much more lived in when you just have all these characters just plopped in there that do their own thing that don't necessarily have to be developed at this very moment, you know? You just know they exist and that things are happening around. And I just think that's really cool. I think that does a lot for making the world feel alive. And it's just good, yeah. It's just good. Is there anyone else big characters? I liked Otto's arc. Otto's like thing going from Hand of the King to whatever he became, and then like kind of like still being around, mingling in. It's just a little, yeah. It was just cool. It was just cool. I liked the performance that the actor gave. I thought there's scenes with Alicent. Once again, Game of Thrones and this like and House of the Dragon, like very weird stuff happens in the show. Alicent getting married off to the king, to Viserys, a little odd, a little weird, but I mean, yeah, it happens in the show. I mean, it's done well too. I mean, you understand why it's happening. So yeah, I think overall, just that also slaps, to be honest. Um, I'm thinking, is there really? See, that's the problem with this. I don't know like how to really do this because there is just so much like content to go through for spoiler section. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Let me just talk about the last scene. Honestly, just overall for the show, so you guys know, I'm not gonna go too like in detail with it. If you have anything you want to like ask me about or any discussions or like, oh, how'd you feel about this scene or like, oh, what about this scene or this scene was cool or your own thoughts. I'm like completely down to hear your own thoughts too. I think that's really cool to hear what you guys think and feel about the show and maybe like if you disagree or agree with me. I think that's awesome. But I think that a cool part of the show was episode 10. Episode 10 had some sick stuff. Obviously, it's the most recent episode as well, so I remember the most about it. But I want to talk about the last fight that they had. The two dragons fighting. What was it? It was Aemon and Luke, right? Is it those two? If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure it was Aemon and Luke. I can make sure. I can just check real quick. Aemon. No. Was it? Wait. Ah, crap. Who was it? Hold on. Is it Eamon? Yeah. Yeah, okay. It is. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure. So yeah, Eamon and Luke. Let me check the Luke one real quick. Just make sure I don't want to get the wrong name. Oh, Lucerys. Okay. Yeah, Lucerys. Luke. Right, for those two. Okay. I thought that Eamon and let's talk about Eamon, I guess, real quick, just as a character. I heard from a couple of friends that apparently in the actual books and stuff and the source material, a little more unhinged, a little more crazy. But in the show they like really watered it down a bit to make him a bit more, I'd say, believable, I guess. Cause what I get the impression from these characters is that Aemon is not an irrational guy. Right? He seems sort of rational. And he understands like what killing Lucerys would do, right? And in the show, the way that Luke dies is accidentally when they lose their dragons. Now about them like losing control of the dragon, it feels like a 50-50 type of thing in my mind. However, I think they have a clever setup because I remember like in the beginning of the show, they were like, "Oh, no one truly owns a dragon" or something. I thought that was really cool. Just like that setup of like the dragons are free, they do whatever they want, like they just happen to listen to them. I think that's kind of cool. To kind of get that payoff. Um, but I feel like it made sense for Eamon's character that he wouldn't just intentionally kill Luke. Like I said, I don't know how it happens in the books. All I know is that it is intentional, while here it's accidental. And I feel like having that be the event that starts it off, is kind of sick. Cause then you get this like interpretation of like, oh, it was on purpose, and then people tell history a different way. And I feel like seeing that unfold would be kind of awesome to see how people interpret it, and obviously the consequences is gonna be like dire. That's like a war and shit. The last scene, we see Rhaenyra turn around and be like, "Bitch, you just killed my fucking son." Which talking about killing sons. Ugh. Ugh. The let me mention the birth scenes. Wait, did I finish talking about the drag? Yeah, I thought the dragon. Okay, the dragon shot. Hold on, before I get to that one, because I have some thoughts about those scenes. I have some thoughts. The dragons are sick, and the last shot with the giant dragon, like a Godzilla type shit. The cinematography in the last episode was fire. I was like, not talking at all. I was like just like, like the entire time. It was sick. It was awesome. And anyway, the last shot, like, right, you see like this like giant dragon like flying above him. It was like some Godzilla shit. And I fucking love Godzilla. I love Godzilla versus Kong, by the way. I might review it someday. I'm kidding. Godzilla versus Kong, though, 9 out of 10. Phenomenal. Fucking slaps. 10 out of 10. Bro, those fight scenes, it was awesome. Anyway, point is, the giant dragon just appearing like that and just like dominating, like just being so much larger than Luke's dragon was some really cool scenes. And the final shot where like it just comes in and just consumes the other dragon, sick. That was just awesome. Like you just like see like the dragons go everywhere, just like snapped in half. And then you see Aemon's like the ah shit. Wait, hold on. Ah shit, I fucked up type of thing. And it was just really fucking cool. And I feel like it was a really awesome way to end the season. It sucks that we have to wait like 2 years though. That oof. Oh. Oh man, that's rough. That is rough. Having to wait that long, having to wait this long for the next season is gonna be hard. But let me give him like my one final thought because I realized that a lot of the show I kind of don't remember. But I think you guys get like a gist of how I kind of feel. Like I said, any specifics or anything you want to know, just ask me. I have kind of like forgotten a few details because I did watch it like in batches, so things kind of blend together certain events. So I'm down to go into more detail in the comments if anyone like asks. If not, I mean it's fine, obviously. Um, Let me talk about the birth scenes. They were so needlessly like bad. Like they were very gory. They were very hard scenes to watch. They did not have to go like that, especially the last one. The last one was especially bad. Like you just see like this the stillborn and it's just bad. It's really fucking bad. And I get the show is trying to show like how bad stuff is, I guess, through like some imagery, but just like the screaming, the noises, the sound effects for every single scene, and just like the blood, ugh, it was just bad. Those shots, I think they did too much with it. Like really impressive stuff. Don't get me wrong. The fucking impressive as fuck how they made it look so real. That's a bit of the problem. They made it look so fucking real. Like that, it's awful. It's awful to look at. Like truly fucking awful. So that's like one thing that I kind of like didn't like about the show, just how how gory those scenes were. Like those were some really bad fucking scenes. Like I remember seeing motherfuckers get decapitated, all that shit. I didn't really care for that. That's like whatever. But those scenes were bad. Those scenes were. Ugh, ugh. Yeah. Yeah. No. Not good. Not good. I'm thinking if there's anything else I'm forgetting. Any like major thing I should talk about before. The Suns. I guess I'll talk about the Suns. And Rhaenyra's husband. That was a cool arc. I thought that was cool. Seeing like just did like them doing their own thing, and then how that kind of like fucks them over in a way too, because now they're both like trapped and like they feel like they can't do what they want. And obviously the Game of Thrones special. If you have a lover, go fuck yourself. Something bad's gonna happen to them one way or another. Also, bro, I thought, oh, what was his name? Let me just look it up. Hold on. Sorry, this is very professional of me. What was this guy's name? What was this guy's name? What was this guy's name? Uh, hmm. Rhaenyra's Knight. Forgot his name to be honest. This is a problem. I forget people's names, especially when I'm trying to like do this review and the things just kind of like slip away. But then Rhaenyra's Knight. If you know who I'm talking about, you know the one that she fucks the first time. No, not the second night. Um, but I thought that I didn't like this character. This character was kind of a bitch. TBH. But I understand why he did the things he did. But I thought that their arc, Rhaenyra kind of like going off the deep end was. I mean, it shows like the kind of asshole and like not as good side of Rhaenyra, like doing that stuff. But it was still cool to see. I don't hate the actor. I liked him at first. Then he switched sides. I didn't like that anymore. I'm like, damn, this guy's kind of a bitch, bro. Kind of a beta, to be honest. Um, but that's just like me just saying shit. Just kind of like talking about like the major events, just trying to get through as many as I can that I can remember. But I genuinely believe that's the last one I can remember for major events. Um, I think that's about it. That's yeah, I think that's it. I'm not gonna like talk about anything else. Um, yeah, yeah. That's really all I have to say. Just in case I didn't mention it, I'll say it real quick. Time skips I thought were a little clunky. And by that I mean it just kind of like goes from like one episode, episode like 6 for example. It was episode 6. Episode 6, then next episode is just a time skip. 10 years later or some shit. And then it does it again. I thought that was really odd and weird. Also, episode 9 being Shrek 2 was cool. If you get what I mean by that, you get what I mean. That was all. Shrek 2, Shrek. Not Shrek 2, Shrek. Was really cool. If you get what I mean, you get what I mean. It was awesome to see the dragon just like emerge and shit. Really cool scene. Episode 9 slapped. Episode 10 slapped. Episodes, all of them just kind of slapped. I don't think there was ever a point where I hated it or thought it was like bad. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Solid. Like I said, a couple of flaws. I know I've only been criticized, like praising it. I think maybe like a few criticisms here and there, but there's just a couple of things that like bring it down for me. Just little things overall that I can't really quite describe. But that's like whatever. I'm going to be wrapping it up now. Gonna be heading out. Guys, have a good one. Peace out. I'll see you on the next review. Drop any comments you have or any opinions in the comments. Yeah. I'll be like, debating you guys if you guys want, or just like talking about stuff in the show. Not necessarily debating, doesn't have to be a debate. Obviously, it's your opinion, my opinion. But like having discussions, I think that's cool. So yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the longest review I've done, by the way, at almost 40 minutes. Holy shit. I'm not sure if I'll edit it down. I don't think I have to be honest. I don't think there's many moments where I just kind of like um stop talking. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Obviously, you'll find out later. Probably shouldn't be talking about this now. But yeah, let me know. Let me know. These reviews are getting longer, so let me know how you feel about it. I'm trying to get better at it. I know this is so new to me, especially tackling these big shows. Um, and I really do feel like I want to do more of this, but also want to be knowledgeable. So if you have any like tips or something, let me know. I feel like I did a better job this time, but I obviously want to get your input. And looking back, I'll probably be like, oh, I should have done this better and stuff like that. So it's always good to want to grow, and I am early on in this like trying to review stuff type of phase. Um, so that's about it. Last thing I wanted to add in there. Have a good one, guys. I'll try to get this up in the morning. Oh, why am I saying that now? You guys are already watching. Have a good one. I'm just gonna head out. Peace out.